Alan Winters sat alone in the control room of the Nevada array, his eyes fixed on the monitors. The clock on the wall showed 3:17 a.m. Most of his colleagues had gone home hours ago, but Alan always volunteered for the night shift. There was something peaceful about listening to the universe when the rest of the world slept. The soft hum of equipment filled the room as he sipped his cold coffee. His job was simple: monitor the deep space signals, look for patterns, and report anything unusual. For 7 years, he had found nothing. Tonight was different. The signal came through at 3:42 a.m. At first, Alan thought it was a glitch. The pattern was too regular, too precise to be natural. He ran the standard tests, checking for equipment malfunctions or Earth-based interference. Everything came back normal. His heart raced as he realized what he might be looking at. He picked up the phone, with shaking hands, and called his supervisor. "Dr. Harris, it's Alan. I think you need to see this." Within hours, the Nevada array was filled with scientists, government officials, and military personnel. What Alan had discovered was unmistakable: an artificial signal from deep space, aimed directly at Earth. Dr. Laura Harris, the lead scientist at the array, addressed the crowded room. "The signal contains mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally. This is first contact, people." For decades, humanity had sent messages into space, hoping for a response. Now that response had come from a civilization calling themselves the Zalarian Confederation, a coalition of 7 spacefaring species. It took the world's best linguists and computer experts 3 weeks to develop an algorithm that could translate the message. When they did, the news spread across Earth like wildfire. The aliens offered knowledge and technology beyond human imagination. They wanted to meet humanity and welcome them to the galactic community. Karen Reeves never expected to become the face of humanity's first diplomatic mission to an alien species. 6 months ago, she had been working in international relations. Now, as director of the newly formed Interstellar Relations Department, she led the team preparing Earth's response. "Something doesn't add up," Karen said, looking over the translated messages for the 10th time that day. She sat in her Washington office, surrounded by linguists and cultural analysts. Ben Mason, her chief linguist, nodded. "I've been feeling the same way. The translation is accurate, but there are subtleties in their language patterns. The way they refer to humans versus how they refer to themselves." "They think we're primitive," Karen said. "Yes, and their offers of aid come with conditions. Look here." Ben pointed to a section of text. "They'll give us faster-than-light travel technology in exchange for mining rights on 10 of our asteroids and military support against something they call the outer threat." Karen frowned. "They want us as allies in a war we know nothing about. Or maybe they just want our resources." While diplomats prepared for the arrival of the first Zalarian delegation, scientists around the world studied the technical information the aliens had shared. Among them was Dr. Jack Phillips, a weapons researcher with degrees in theoretical physics and engineering. Jack had been asked to analyze the defensive technology specifications the Zalarians had sent as a gesture of goodwill. He worked in a secure lab beneath the New Mexico desert, cut off from outside communications. After 2 weeks of study, Jack requested an urgent meeting with Karen Reeves. They met in a small, windowless room at the Pentagon. "The technology they're offering us isn't what it seems," Jack explained, spreading diagrams across the table. "I found backdoors in every system. If we built these weapons exactly as specified, the Zalarians could shut them down remotely." Karen studied the diagrams. "You're certain?" "Beyond any doubt. These aren't defensive systems they're sharing. They're control mechanisms." Jack pushed his glasses up his nose. "There's more. The power core designs they sent, if built to their specifications, they would make our entire power grid dependent on a rare element that only exists in their territory." Karen took a deep breath. "So they offer us advanced technology that actually makes us dependent on them." "Exactly. And there's a chance they've done this before. The technical specifications include adaptations for different planetary conditions. Earth isn't the first world they've approached this way." The next day, Karen presented these findings To the United Nations Security Council. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. We have two options, Karen said. Reject their offers entirely and risk appearing hostile, or accept their friendship while quietly developing our own technology paths. General Paul Weber, the U.S. military representative, leaned forward. If their intentions are genuine, developing our own weapons shouldn't concern them. If they react negatively to our independence, that tells us everything we need to know. The vote was unanimous. Earth would welcome the Zilarians but accelerate independent weapons research. A new agency would be created, drawing the brightest minds from every nation, working together for humanity's protection. When the Zilarian ship landed in a specially prepared area outside Geneva 1 month later, Earth was ready. The aliens were tall, with silvery skin and 4 arms. They moved with fluid grace and spoke through translation devices that converted their musical language to human speech. Ambassador Learval of the Zilarians presented gifts of knowledge and expressed hope for a long partnership between their peoples. Karen Reeves accepted these gifts with appropriate diplomatic gratitude. That night, after the ceremonies ended, Karen met with Jack Phillips and General Weber in a secure room. They scanned our planet thoroughly during their approach, General, Weber said. Our sensors detected it. They know more about us than they're letting on. Jack nodded. And they asked very specific questions about our weapons capabilities and power infrastructure. Then we proceed as planned, Karen said. Project Guardian begins tomorrow. We'll need to keep it hidden from our new friends. The facility under the Pacific is ready, General Weber replied. 200 scientists, completely off the grid. As they spoke across the world, selected researchers received coded messages inviting them to join a classified project. Among the first to accept was Dr. Olivia Russell, an expert in advanced materials. Her research into self-healing metals could revolutionize spacecraft design. By the time the Zilarian delegation departed Earth a week later, promising regular visits and technological exchanges, the seeds of humanity's independent weapons program had been planted, not because humans wanted war, but because something in the Zilarians' perfect smiles didn't reach their eyes. Alan Winters, whose late-night discovery had changed humanity's destiny, was among those watching the alien ship depart. He stood next to Karen Reeves on the observation platform. Do you think we'll ever truly trust them? He asked. Karen watched the ship become a distant point of light in the evening sky. Trust has to be earned, and something tells me we've only seen the beginning of this story. As darkness fell, scientists around the world began their secret work. Humanity would accept the hand of friendship extended from the stars, but they would keep one hand on their weapons, just in case. 5 years passed since the first Zilarian ship landed on Earth. The world had changed. Gleaming towers with alien-inspired architecture rose in major cities. New medical treatments cured diseases that once seemed hopeless. Cars powered by clean energy zipped along roads. People lived longer, healthier lives. But beneath this progress, doubt grew. Lisa Daniels adjusted her uniform as she walked through the Mars colony dome. As a military intelligence officer, she watched the aliens closely. The red dust of Mars swirled outside the thick glass walls. Earth had established this colony with Zilarian help, but Lisa made sure humans controlled all security systems. Her communication device buzzed. A new encrypted message had arrived from Earth. Lisa hurried to her private office, a small room with a desk, chair, and computer station. She pressed her palm against the scanner and entered her code. The message was from Karen Reeves, now the Global Security Advisor. It contained intercepted communications between Zilarian ships. Lisa's heart pounded as she read. The aliens were talking about something called Phase 2 for Earth. They mentioned other worlds that had gone through this process. None of those worlds remained independent. Lisa downloaded the message to her secure tablet and headed to meet John Rivera, the colony governor. She found him in the hydroponics section checking the tomato plants. "Governor, we need to talk privately," Lisa said. They walked to his office. The glass walls turned opaque at John's command. "What's so urgent?" he asked. Lisa showed him the message. "The Zilarians have done this before. They help worlds develop, then take control. Earth might be next." John frowned. These are serious claims. We need proof, not just intercepted messages that might be mistranslated. I agree, Lisa nodded. That's why Karen wants us to check something. The Zilarians told us about an abandoned mining station on Phobos. They said it was too dangerous to visit. I want to see what's really there. 2 days later, Lisa and a small team flew to Phobos, one of Mars' small moons. They wore full spacesuits as they explored the dark tunnels of the mining station. Their lights cut through the dusty air. Over here, called Mike Chen, the team's engineer. He pointed to a sealed door with strange symbols. Using tools adapted from Zilarian designs, they opened the door. Inside, they found not mining equipment but rows of strange pods. Each pod held a crystalline structure that glowed with faint blue light. What are these? Lisa whispered, though no one could hear her outside her suit. Mike scanned them with his equipment. They're some kind of communication devices, very powerful. They've been collecting and transmitting data about our colony. Spying on us, Lisa said, and the Zilarians didn't want us to find them. When they returned to Mars colony, a message waited from Commander Eric Garcia of the Earth Defense Fleet. His patrol ship had found something disturbing. The message played in the colony's secure room. Eric's face looked tired, his eyes haunted. We found a planet called Navara, he reported. The Zilarians told Earth this world was destroyed by a natural disaster. That's a lie. We found survivors. The Navarans trusted the Zilarians, built their defensive systems according to Zilarian designs. During what they thought was a routine software update, all their defenses shut down. The Zilarian fleet arrived hours later, demanding complete surrender and resource rights. Lisa and John exchanged worried glances as Eric continued. We brought some refugees aboard. They've confirmed everything Dr. Phillips suspected 5 years ago. The Zilarians aren't allies. They're conquerors who use technology instead of weapons for the first stage of invasion. On Earth, President Samantha Wilson called an emergency meeting. Leaders from every nation gathered in a room deep beneath the Swiss Alps, a location built to block all signals that might be monitored. Karen Reeves presented the evidence. The pattern is clear. The Zilarians find developing worlds, offer help, create dependency, then take control. We've identified 7 other civilizations they've conquered this way. Jack Phillips, now leading humanity's independent weapons research, stood next to a holographic display. The good news is we've made progress. While accepting Zilarian technology publicly, we've been developing our own systems secretly. But we need to accelerate our efforts. President Wilson nodded. I'm authorizing full funding for the Advanced Weapons Initiative. Every nation will contribute their best scientists and resources. Where will this happen? Asked the Russian representative. The Zilarians monitor all our major facilities. Under the Pacific Ocean, Jack answered. We've built a research complex 5 miles beneath the sea floor, powered by geothermal energy, completely isolated from any network the Zilarians might access. The Chinese leader leaned forward. How do we keep this hidden? The Zilarians have sensors that can detect unusual energy signatures. Karen smiled slightly. We've been feeding false data to their sensors for years. As far as they know, that area of the Pacific is experiencing normal geological activity. As the meeting continued across the solar system, humans began quiet preparations. Military vessels updated their systems with non-Zilarian technology. Colonies established backup communications that didn't rely on alien infrastructure. On the Barf moon base, Dr. Frank Cooper watched the Earth rise over the lunar landscape. His team had been testing new shield technology that could block Zilarian weapons. The results were promising. Human creativity had taken alien concepts and improved them in ways the Zilarians never imagined. They underestimated us, Frank told his assistant, Sophia Lee. They thought we'd just copy their designs. They didn't expect us to innovate. Sophia nodded. My brother works in the Mars colony. He says Lisa Daniels found evidence that the Zilarians have conquered dozens of worlds. We might be next on their list. Frank turned from the window. Not if I can help it. Our latest shield prototype is ready for testing. If it works, we'll send the designs to the Pacific facility. Back on Earth, in the underwater research complex, Scientists from around the world worked day and night. The facility stretched for miles beneath the ocean floor, with specialized labs for every aspect of weapons development. Dr. Amy Foster led the biological countermeasures team. They developed ways to protect humans from any alien virus or bacteria that might be used against Earth. In another section, Kyle Barnes worked on energy weapons that could disable Zalarian ships without destroying them. The heart of the facility was the central command room, where Jack Phillips coordinated all research efforts. Screens showed projects from Earth and all human colonies. A large countdown clock displayed the estimated time until the Zalarians would move from helpful allies to open conquerors. Based on intelligence from Lisa Daniels and Eric Garcia, they had less than 2 years to prepare. "We need to work faster," Jack told his team. "The Zalarians are planning something big. We've detected unusual movement in their fleet." Karen Reeves, visiting from Washington, stood beside him. "Our diplomats will keep them talking, buy us as much time as possible. But your weapons are our real hope, Jack." Jack nodded, looking at the global team working around them. "Humanity has always been at its best when facing a challenge. We'll be ready." Outside, the dark waters of the Pacific Ocean hid humanity's greatest secret, not weapons built from a desire for war, but from a need to remain free. The Zalarian ambassador Zixnar stood tall in the United Nations chamber. His silver skin reflected the lights as he spoke in a voice that seemed too smooth, too perfect. "We have detected unusual energy signatures from your Pacific region," he said. "Our scans show activities not consistent with the technology we have shared." President Samantha Wilson maintained a calm expression, though her heart raced. The Zalarians had discovered something. How much did they know? "We have many research projects," she replied. "Some explore applications of your generous gifts. Others follow our own scientific traditions." Zixnar's forearms moved in a pattern that humans had learned to recognize as displeasure. "The Confederation protocols are clear. For your own safety, all weapons development must follow our established guidelines." The room grew tense. This was the first time the Zalarians had openly referred to controlling Earth's weapons research. "We value your guidance," President Wilson said carefully, "but Earth maintains its sovereign right to self-defense. Then perhaps we have reached the limits of our cooperation." Zixnar's voice turned cold. "Without compliance, the Confederation must reconsider all technological assistance. You would be isolated from the galactic community. Your colonies would lose our support systems." After the meeting, Karen Reeves and General Weber walked quickly through the underground passages beneath New York. "They're moving faster than we expected," Karen said. "We need more time." General Weber nodded. "The Pacific facility needs at least 6 more months to complete the shield network. If the Zalarians cut us off now..." Their conversation stopped as alarms blared through the complex. Red lights flashed in the hallway. "What now?" Karen pulled out her secure phone. The voice of her assistant came through. "Director Reeves, an unidentified ship just entered Earth orbit. It's not Zalarian, it's damaged and requesting emergency landing clearance." The damaged ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, trailing smoke and debris. Fighter jets escorted it to a secure landing zone in the Australian outback. As the dust settled, human security teams surrounded the vessel. The ship's design was unlike anything Earth had seen before. Not Zalarian, but clearly advanced. The main hatch opened with a hiss of escaping air. A figure appeared, humanoid, but with pale blue skin and features that seemed almost delicate. "I am Tevral of the Arcadian Empire," the alien said in a voice that sounded musical. "We seek asylum." Inside a hastily established quarantine zone, medical teams examined the Arcadian survivors while diplomats listened to their story. Kara Levine, a human engineer who had been helping repair their ship, sat with Karen Reeves as Tevral explained. "The Zalarians are not what they appear," Tevral said. "They have waged a shadow war against many species for centuries. We are their latest targets." "Why haven't we heard of your people before?" Karen asked. "The Zalarians control what information reaches developing worlds. They isolate each new species, presenting themselves as the dominant power in the galaxy." Tevral's large eyes looked tired. In truth, there are dozens of advanced civilizations. The Zilarians fear any alliance that might challenge them. Kara leaned forward. Their ship's technology is remarkable, different from Zilarian designs in fundamental ways, more elegant, less wasteful. President Wilson joined the meeting via secure video. Why come to Earth? We can barely defend ourselves. Tevral smiled, revealing teeth that shimmered like opals. Because you have done what few species manage. You accepted Zilarian help while maintaining your independence. Our scientists have monitored your progress. You are developing weapons unlike any we've seen. In the Pacific facility, Dr. Noah Patterson received the news about the Arcadian arrival with skepticism. As the AWI's lead scientist, he had learned to question everything. It could be a Zilarian trick, he told Jack Phillips. Send aliens claiming to be enemies of the Zilarians, gain our trust, learn our secrets. That's why the Arcadians remain in quarantine, Jack replied. But their technology checks out, it's not Zilarian, and their story matches everything we've discovered. Noah sighed. I'll meet with their engineers, but they don't get access to our weapons research until we're certain. The meeting took place in a neutral facility in Australia. Noah faced Tevral and two Arcadian scientists across a table of simple design. Show me your weapons technology, Noah said directly. We prefer to call them defensive systems, Tevral replied, placing a small crystal on the table. It projected a holographic display showing schematics of Arcadian ships and their protection systems. Noah studied the designs with growing interest. Unlike Zilarian technology, these systems were transparent in operation. No hidden backdoors, no secret control mechanisms. The principles were advanced but understandable. Why would you share this with us? Noah asked. Because we need each other, Tevral answered. The Zilarians fear human creativity. You take concepts and develop them in unexpected ways. Combined with our technical knowledge, we could create defenses the Zilarians cannot overcome. The next day, a small team of Arcadian engineers visited the Pacific facility. They marveled at what humans had accomplished. Your shield design is brilliant, said Lanvey, the Arcadian weapons specialist. You've approached the problem from an angle we never considered. Kara Levine, now working as a liaison between humans and Arcadians, explained the hybrid plasma containment field they had developed. We combined principles from 3 different Earth nations' research teams, she said. Chinese particle physics, Russian energy containment, and American miniaturization techniques. This is why the Zilarians fear you, Lanvey replied. They expect you to develop along predictable lines. Instead, you combine ideas in ways they cannot anticipate. While humans and Arcadians work together, Zilarian ships increase their patrols around Earth and its colonies. Ambassador Zixnar demanded the Arcadians be turned over as fugitives from justice. President Wilson refused. In the Mars colony, Lisa Daniels received warning of Zilarian ships approaching with weapons charged. She ordered emergency protocols activated. The colony's new shields, based on the Pacific facility's designs, hummed to life just as the Zilarians fired. The attack lasted 12 minutes. When it ended, the Mars colony stood undamaged. The Zilarian weapons had failed to penetrate the shields. News of the attack spread quickly. Earth recalled its diplomats from Zilarian worlds. The pretense of friendship was over. In the Pacific facility, Noah and the Arcadian engineers worked frantically to complete the global defense network. Their cooperation had yielded results neither species could have achieved alone. Human-designed weapons with Arcadian enhancements were deployed throughout the solar system. President Wilson addressed the world from a secure location. Today we face a moment of truth. The Zilarians came as friends but planned conquest. Thanks to those who questioned their intentions, Earth remains free. We stand with our new Arcadian allies against Zilarian aggression. In orbit, the first ships of Earth's new defense fleet took position. They were smaller than Zilarian vessels but incorporated innovations from 6 human nations and Arcadian expertise. Commander Garcia took command of the lead ship. All stations report ready, his tactical officer announced. Garcia nodded, watching, as Zalarian warships approached Earth. The real test of humanity's weapons was about to begin. They expected us to be easy prey, he said quietly. They never understood why we build weapons. Not for conquest, but for freedom. The first shots of the Zalarian War blazed across Earth's sky, visible even in daylight. Humanity's most advanced weapons faced their ultimate challenge. The battle for Earth lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Zalarian fleet retreated, leaving behind damaged ships and broken pride. Earth's defense systems had performed beyond expectations, but the victory came at a cost. Thousands of lives were lost and parts of major cities lay in ruins. 10 years passed. Humanity spread throughout the solar system, establishing research outposts on every major planet and many moons. Each location focused on different aspects of weapons technology, working together to create an integrated defense network. Dr. Michelle Grant gazed out the window of the Jupiter outpost. The giant planet's swirling clouds filled the view, bands of orange and cream against the blackness of space. Behind her, 20 scientists worked at stations around the lab, monitoring tests of their latest innovation. Energy output stable at 97%, called out Greg Porter, her assistant. The targeting system is working perfectly. Michelle nodded, pleased. Unlike traditional weapons that destroyed targets, their system disabled enemy vessels without killing the crews. The technology used precisely focused energy beams that disrupted ship systems but left life support functioning. Run the simulation. Again, Michelle said, let's see if we can push it to 99% efficiency. As her team worked, Michelle reflected on how far humanity had come. The Jupiter outpost had grown from a small research station to a major facility housing over 500 people. Similar developments had occurred throughout the solar system. The Saturn Research Station, orbiting the ringed planet, specialized in defensive shields. Under Frank Donovan's direction, the station had developed barriers that could adapt to various attack forms. When struck by energy weapons, the shields changed their molecular structure to absorb and redirect the energy. Against physical projectiles, they became dense and impenetrable. Frank stood in the main control room, watching as his team tested a new shield configuration. On the large screen, simulated Zalarian weapons fired at a protected target. The shields glowed but held. Shield integrity at 100%, reported Ana Rodriguez, the lead engineer. The adaptive response is working exactly as designed. Frank smiled. Send the results to Earth Command and the Mars colony. They'll want to implement these improvements immediately. On Earth, cities had been rebuilt with better defenses integrated into their infrastructure. The scars of the Zalarian attack were visible in the architecture. New buildings alongside restored historical structures. People went about their daily lives, but everyone understood that the war was not over. In Chicago, a 17-year-old named Ryan Cooper sat in his bedroom, surrounded by computer screens. Ryan had always been different from other kids. His mind worked in patterns that even his teachers couldn't follow. While other teenagers played games or worried about school dances, Ryan explored mathematical concepts that most adults couldn't comprehend. Tonight, he was focused on a problem that had been bothering him for weeks. The defense systems Earth had developed were good, but they reacted to attacks after they began. What if they could predict enemy movements before weapons fired? Ryan's fingers flew over his keyboard as he developed an algorithm. It analyzed thousands of recorded Zalarian attack patterns, looking for predictive indicators. He worked through the night, forgetting to eat or sleep. By morning, he had something remarkable. The algorithm could predict with 87% accuracy where a Zalarian ship would strike next, based on subtle energy fluctuations before weapons fired. It wasn't perfect, but it was revolutionary. Not knowing what to do with his discovery, Ryan sent messages to several scientists whose work he had read about online. Most never replied, but Dr. Jack Phillips, now the global director of the Advanced Weapons Initiative, recognized the potential immediately. 3 days later, Ryan found himself in the high-security headquarters of the AWI in Washington. He sat nervously in front of Jack Phillips and Karen Reeves, who had become the Secretary of Defense. "Explain it again," Jack said, leaning forward. "How does your algorithm work?" Ryan swallowed hard. "It's pattern recognition at its core. I analyzed every recorded Zilarian attack and found that their ships emit specific energy signatures microseconds before firing. Those signatures change based on what weapon they're about to use. My algorithm recognizes those signatures and predicts the attack type and target location." Karen looked skeptical. "That gives us what? A half-second warning?" "Actually, 1.3 seconds, Ryan corrected. "But that's enough time for automated defense systems to respond. The real breakthrough is that it keeps learning. The more attacks it analyzes, the more accurate it becomes." Jack exchanged glances with Karen. "If this works as you describe, it could change everything." 1 month later, Ryan's algorithm was integrated into Earth's defense network for testing. The opportunity to prove its value came sooner than expected. A Zilarian scout ship appeared near the moon, clearly testing Earth's defenses. In the Lunar Command Center, operators watched as the automated system, enhanced with Ryan's predictive algorithm, tracked the Zilarian vessel. "Enemy ship is charging. Weapons," announced the tactical officer. Before anyone could react, the defense system had already adjusted shield configurations and aimed countermeasures. When the Zilarian ship fired, the attack was neutralized with a precision that would have been impossible before. The ship retreated, but the encounter provided valuable data. Ryan's algorithm had worked even better than expected, predicting the attack with 94% accuracy. News of the successful defense spread quickly through the human colonies. Ryan found himself promoted from high school student to lead developer at the AWI's Predictive Response Division. As humanity's technological capabilities grew, so did interest from other species. Word traveled through the galactic community about Earth's advancements. Ships from various civilizations, many secretly suffering under Zilarian influence, began appearing at the edges of the solar system. They came cautiously at first, diplomatic vessels requesting meetings. Their representatives shared stories, similar to the Arcadians. The Zilarians had approached their worlds as friends, offered technology, then demanded compliance. Each new contact brought different perspectives and technologies. The Lorians, a species from a heavy gravity world, contributed advanced material science. The Talari shared propulsion technology unlike anything humans had encountered. The Vosak, insectoid beings with complex social structures, offered unique approaches to coordinated defense systems. Earth became the center of a growing coalition. Karen Reeves, now serving as humanity's primary diplomatic representative, worked tirelessly to build these relationships. In a secure conference room beneath Geneva, she met with ambassadors from 12 different species. "We each have pieces of the puzzle," she told them. "Alone we are vulnerable. Together we might stand against the Zilarian Confederation." The coalition grew stronger, but so did Zilarian aggression. Attacks on outlying human settlements increased. The Neptune outpost farthest from Earth became a frequent target. During one particularly brutal assault, 37 people lost their lives, including Dr. Olivia Russell, one of the original scientists from the Pacific facility. Her pioneering work on self-healing metals had revolutionized spacecraft design. Earth mourned, but the loss strengthened humanity's resolve. The weapons research accelerated. Ryan's predictive algorithm was enhanced with input from alien allies, achieving new levels of accuracy. What had begun as a desperate effort for survival had become something more, a revolution in defensive technology that promised to change the balance of power in the galaxy. 20 years had passed since first contact with the Zilarians. Earth had transformed from a single-planet civilization into a solar system spanning power. Automated defense platforms orbited every planet. Human colonies thrived on Mars, Venus, and many moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Ships with the Earth Defense Fleet emblem patrolled the borders of what had become known as protected space. Admiral Stephen Wright stood on the bridge of the flagship Guardian, watching as his crew prepared for their mission. The ship represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity, combined with contributions from alien allies. Unlike the massive Zilarian warships, Human vessels were smaller, faster, and more adaptable. "All systems report ready, Admiral," said his first officer, Lieutenant Maria Chen. Stephen nodded. At 53, he had seen humanity's journey from vulnerable newcomers to respected defenders. His ship alone carried weapons systems developed by humans working with engineers from 12 different alien species. "Set course for the Arcadian refugee worlds," he ordered. "Maximum speed." The Guardian and its escort fleet entered faster than light. Travel, the stars stretching into lines of light. Their mission was urgent. Intelligence reports indicated that the Zilarian Confederation had launched a full-scale invasion against the planets where Arcadian refugees had settled. In the ship's tactical center, officers studied the latest data. The Zilarians had committed over 300 warships to the assault, expecting an easy victory against what they believed were poorly defended colonies. "They don't know what's waiting for them," said Tactical Officer Pete Ramirez. "The defense network we installed last year is fully operational." Stephen studied the holographic display showing the Arcadian system. "They'll be surprised, but don't underestimate them. The Zilarians have been conquering worlds for centuries. They adapt quickly." The journey took 3 days. When they arrived, the battle was already underway. Zilarian ships surrounded the 5 planets of the Arcadian system, their weapons blazing against planetary shields. "Status report," Stephen demanded. "Arcadian shields holding at 63%, replied Communications Officer Diana Lee. "They've been under attack for 26 hours. Stephen turned to his weapons officer. "Activate the Guardian protocol. All ships, deploy Ryan nodes." Throughout the fleet, special devices developed from Ryan Cooper's predictive algorithm activated. Now 27 years old, Ryan had evolved his technology into autonomous units that could analyze enemy patterns and coordinate defensive responses across multiple ships simultaneously. The human fleet moved into position, unleashing weapons that seemed to anticipate every Zilarian maneuver. Energy beams bypassed enemy shields at their weakest points. Precision strikes disabled propulsion systems rather than destroying ships outright. On the Zilarian command vessel, Admiral Zex-4 watched in growing alarm as his carefully planned attack faltered. "How are they predicting our movements?" he demanded of his senior officers. "Adjust attack pattern. Switch to alternate frequencies." But the human defense systems adapted just as quickly. The Ryan nodes analyzed each change in Zilarian tactics and distributed countermeasures across the Allied fleet. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the Zilarian fleet retreated in disarray, leaving disabled ships drifting in space. No Zilarian vessels had been completely destroyed, but none remained combat-capable. Admiral Wright ordered rescue operations for the stranded Zilarian crews. "We're not here to annihilate them," he reminded his officers. "Our weapons disable. They don't destroy unless absolutely necessary." This approach shocked the Zilarians, who expected either death or abandonment. As human medical teams treated injured Zilarian soldiers, word spread through the Confederation. The humans fought differently. They had the power to destroy but chose restraint. 2 months later, representatives from 50 galactic civilizations gathered on neutral territory, a space station orbiting a star at the edge of the Milky Way. The Galactic Concord, as the meeting became known, marked the first time so many species had gathered in peace. Catherine Powell, who had risen from diplomatic aide to Secretary General of United Earth, led the human delegation. At 71, she had dedicated her life to building bridges between species. Now she would face her greatest challenge. "The cycle of conquest must end," Catherine told the assembled representatives. "For too long, advanced civilizations have dominated emerging ones through technological control. We propose a different path." The Zilarian representatives, no longer arrogant but still proud, listened with suspicion. Their lead diplomat, Lor Zin, spoke next. "The Confederation has maintained order for millennia. Your weapons have disrupted that order. Why should we trust your vision?" Catherine smiled gently. "Because our most advanced weapons show our true intentions. We developed technology that disables rather than destroys. We created defenses that protect without aggression. Every species in this room has the right to determine its own destiny. For 7 days, the delegates debated. The Arcadians spoke of Zilarian oppression. The Lorians described centuries of technological dependency. The Talari revealed how the Confederation had manipulated their resources. But it was Ryan Cooper, now Earth's chief science advisor, who presented the most compelling case. He demonstrated a new system, the Galactic Shield Initiative. This network can protect all worlds, regardless of their development level, Ryan explained. It cannot be used for conquest or control. Its code is open for all to examine, and its operation requires consensus from multiple species. On the final day, even the Zilarians recognized that the old ways had ended. The Galactic Concord established the first Universal Arms Limitation Treaty, with inspections and verification protocols designed by human ethical engineers. We build weapons not to rule, but to ensure no one rules over others, Catherine told the assembly in her closing remarks. The greatest defense is not secrecy or domination, but transparency and cooperation. As the treaty was signed, across protected space, the emblem of Earth's Advanced Weapons Initiative appeared on screens and monuments. Once a secret project born from fear, it had become a symbol of a new approach to security, one based on defense rather than destruction, protection rather than power. Admiral Wright, watching the ceremony from the Guardian, turned to his first officer. 20 years ago, when we discovered the Zilarians' plan to conquer us, I never imagined this outcome. It's why we succeeded where others failed, Maria replied. We didn't just build better weapons, we built better reasons for having them. In Chicago, in a park dedicated to those lost in the Zilarian attacks, an old man stood before a memorial wall. Alan Winters, whose late-night discovery had changed humanity's path, traced his fingers over names of friends lost in the war. Among them was Olivia Russell, whose work on self-healing metals now protected ships throughout the galaxy. A young child approached him, part of a school group touring historical sites. Are you really the one who heard the aliens first? The ice child asked. Alan smiled. I just listened to the stars. It was others who heard the truth behind the words, and still others who built the shields that saved us. Why did humans make such good weapons? The child asked. Alan looked up at the blue Earth sky where ships from a dozen worlds now traveled freely. Because we understood something important. The best weapon isn't the one that destroys your enemy. It's the one that makes peace possible. Throughout the galaxy, on worlds once threatened by conquest, children of many species now played beneath skies protected by human-designed defense systems. The greatest weapons humanity had built were not those that won the war, but those that maintained the peace that followed, not through fear, but through the promise that technology could serve freedom rather than suppress it.